Mrs. Ford, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dean? Mr. Sharp? Mr. Thompson? Mr. Faulkner? Mr. Tanner? Mr. Groby? Mr. Gould?
Here.
Mr. Canulet? Mr. Belisario? Miss O'Brien? Mr. Stefanczyk? Mr. Bender? Mr. Artigue? Mr. Smith? You have a quorum.
Okay. President Brister.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you also to give us a briefing on the Southeastern Hospital and the circumstances.
Sir, I will be happy to, because we are very, very relieved that we will continue to have the services that have been available to us as St. Tammany and North Shore residents at Southeast Hospital. We did sign agreements Monday between the state parish, and that gives us the management or control of the entire property. And we signed an agreement between the parish and Meridian Behavioral Health, the company that the state picked to run the hospital, for them to run that hospital. And we will be able to keep all the other services that are on site now there. And we have every hope, and we've already started looking and talking to people, that we will enhance those services. There may be even more services out there than we have now. So it was a great day. I'm just amazed that we were able to get something done in that short period of time. I don't mean this derogatorily, but working with the state is not always that fast. But we were able to pull it together and get it signed before it had to be closed, and then try to reopen it. So I couldn't be happier, and I appreciate the council working with us. I know we asked for resolutions that kind of were open-ended, and you gave us that authority, and it certainly is what made it go so quickly. And we appreciate all the help, and it will go forward.
Thank you. Okay, the first item we'll go to is ordinance calendar number 4885, ordinance adopting the 2013 parish operating budget. We're going to need a motion to amend and create a new line item, I believe. Ms. Long, if you could give us a briefing on that.
Yes, sir. We are going to amend, it's on page 3 of 9 of your ordinance, and we're going to add a division under the Public Health Fund 01722 for the Southeast Louisiana Hospital Facility. And this is going to account for some of the costs associated with the property. And as I think Ms. Brister had previously alluded to, that these items may be reimbursed through some agreements with other agencies.
Right, and this is to facilitate
I'm sorry, and it's for
Southeastern Hospital.
$50,000. $50,000 increase.
All right, need
Move to
a
amend.
second by Mr. Belisario. Vote with your lights on the amendment, please.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to adopt the budget.
So moved.
Okay, and is there any comment from the public? Yes, sir. Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Most of you know that I attended all of the budget hearings that the Parish Council held, and they were very informative. There are a couple of comments that I have, and actually many of you have heard my comments in the past. One dealing with lighting districts. The lighting districts, again, have several of them. There are 11. 4 of them have in excess of $600,000. And what the people need to know and do is, if you're in a lighting district, how do you know? Well, I got my tax bill on December 1st. And on one of the line items on there was lighting district number 6, which is where I live. And it had an amount there. So if you have a lighting district amount on your tax bill, then you live in a lighting district. And then you have every right to ask the parish government through Public Works for assistance in getting lighting done in your area. So that's something the public needs to do. I want to thank the administration. I want to thank Councilmember Groby. We're working on lighting of Highway 1088 between Solt and Lakeshore High School, and with the exception of the I-12 interchange. That's another project for another day. Hopefully, I'm still alive when that one takes place. But this one is supposed to take place imminently. I'm told that maybe as early as January, we could see some actual work done. Everything has been approved apparently, but somehow the mechanism needs to take place to actually get the work started. So I don't know if anyone can do anything about getting the work started, but I would certainly appreciate it if that can happen certainly very, very soon. That's one of the items. The second item is an item which I know that I'm going to get in trouble with some of the council members, and I spoke about this at the hearing, and that had to do with the motions that usually appear at the very end of the agenda to make some zoning changes. There were in the year 2012, this year, there were 25 zoning motions that were made. What this means for the public is that it waives all the fees that are associated with these zoning changes. There are 5 council members who had none of these motions. I want to recognize and say thank you to those 5 council members for 2012. Councilmember Falconer, Groby, Canulette, Ms. O'Brien, and Mr. Bender. Those 5 were not included in all the other motions. Some had 1, some had more than 1. My estimate is, and I worked on this, I estimate that that those fees for those were $17,475. Those were the fees that were waived. That money is not revenue that the parish is going to see. Many of these are stated that, you know, these were errors in the comprehensive rezoning. The comprehensive rezoning has been over nearly 3 years. It started a year before that. I mean, the time for comprehensive rezoning errors has long passed. It's time for now to accept. If an error was made, or you think an error was made, I mean, what you should do is have these people pay for these zoning changes anyway. Those of us, and I'm one of them, those of us, I don't know how many took college courses in comprehensive rezoning, but I did, and I passed the course. And it takes like every 10 to 15 years.
Glad to hear that.
Every 10 to 15 years, a comprehensive rezoning should take place, every 10 to 15 years. This last one that took place was over 20 years on this. I mean, you know, and now the process was way over 2 years. You add the 4 years that's on there. I mean, we've been at this for at least 6 years. And now is the time to say, wait, enough is enough. No more errors, please. I would ask the council to no longer consider waiving these fees for revisions to the zoning ordinance. And this is something that other people have stated too, maybe not as publicly as I've just done, but please consider doing that in future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
on that particular item, can I speak so I don't have to do it at the end of the meeting? On the
Yes, sir.
zoning commission motions, as I had told you today, I've addressed this more than once myself, that, you know, the time has come, and what I'm presenting tonight is I want a resolution put together for the January meeting to stop it. We have gone for well over 2 years with moving motions so that people can come in for zoning changes and not have to pay the fees. We can look at maybe an exception for extenuating circumstances, but I believe what Carlos does, that we're 2+ years past the end of the adoption of the 5th area for the comprehensive rezoning. It is costing the parish government money. Sidney Fontenot brought it up when he was making his presentation as a part of the departmental budget reviews, and I had concurred with him on that. There are some council members who disagreed. I says, but we need to come to consensus and stop this and vote on the issue next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grovey?
On the 1088 lighting issue, the Parish Public Works Department has went out of their way to provide every bit of paperwork that was required under the said permit. They did excellent scale drawings, turned everything in. I've asked for the assistance of both Clico and Washington St. Tammany to kind of run up there. And we should be hearing soon if they give us the final sign off on it. And then after that, it's just a matter of, getting the equipment in and getting it done. But I feel comfortable that it's really, really close, Carlo.
Okay, any other comment? All right, I have a motion and a second.
Wait a minute,
Mr. Stefanczyk?
Yes, on the 1088 lighting, and I know that's in Jake's district, but I think the thing that we've looked at too is trying to get some approval through the state and RPC, and we put that in the long-range plan. We actually expedited because it was well behind, it's going to be several years out. We expedited that in RPC by tagging it in with the Lacombe 434 so that they would both be done the same year. And I think, we're going to see that part of it as rapidly as we can from the state. But we got to wait on those state funds to get that piece where you cross the interstate. So I know we changed the lighting district to accommodate some of that, but we are working to get those kind of things done from the lighting district. And I know that in my area, the people support the lighting district very well. Every time it's gone out on the ballot, it's passed with a significant amount of yes votes over the no votes. And there are some reasons for having a balance in there. One of them is we can add additional lights if people need them. And of course, I send out a newsletter and let the people know that they can call and get those things. But it allows us to do other projects. And a good example is if you go down Airport Road in Slidell, we have a bicycle path down there, and we were able to light that bicycle path with lighting district number 4 because we had some excess funds in the thing to be able to do it. So those kind of projects, which take $150,000 to do, because you're starting from scratch and building all the poles and everything, it's good to have some balance in a lighting district. And I'm not one that's going to. We do roll back that millage every time it's up for renewal. We roll back and roll back and roll back. And we started out with a 10 mil, and now it's down to about 3 mils, I think, that we have in the lighting district. So it's a very small amount compared to the benefit that it provides to all of our citizens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we
Mr.
have
Chairman, could I add something else?
Yes.
I just wanted to, again, we did it at the committee, but I wanted to also publicly acknowledge Ms. Long and Ms. Salter and all of the staff and the department heads that helped us through this budget hearing process. I mean, it took a lot of time, and we all, really appreciate it. And I guess the most gratifying thing that I found, having been through the process last year and now this year, is how much was reflected that we talked about, not only in those hearings last year, but, in the intervening year. I just feel so much pride in how the thing has turned out. And I want to thank you both, and President Brister, give him a good pat on the back for us all.
Thank you, Mr. Falconer, and I thank you very much. But it was a good process that I think everybody learned from, including our staff and the council members. So I'm glad we went through it also. Thank you very much.
Marty, I just want to say one thing on the meetings we had. The only thing that bothered me is that we went through this effort, and my wife keeps telling me from the school board, when they have their budget reviews, their budget's in the $380 million range, they may get one person to show up, max. And people are worried about taxes, but when there's a chance to participate in the process and question the process, it doesn't happen. At ours, the highest number of people we had when the meetings I attended for the budget review was 2 people. One other meeting was 1. It was one of the 2 from the preceding meeting. We need to, I don't know how to get the people encouraged to come to the meetings and ask questions. It's an open public forum. Our people are well prepared for that. I would hope next year that people would look at the idea to come and learn more about how we're trying to manage and control the money of St. Tammany Parish.
Okay, thank you. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
All right, ordinance calendar number 4886, ordinance adopting the 2013-2017 Parish Capital Improvement Budget and Program, and further identify fixed assets and grant awards. Need a
So
mo-
moved.
Second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Any questions? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, under presentations, introduction of the junior council member for December, Gabrielle LeBreton. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Gabriel Lebreton, this is Gabe here. You can stand up, Gabe. There you go. Gabe is a fourth grader at St. Margaret Mary High School, grammar school. I did it on purpose, Gabe. I was trying to promote you, buddy. He's a good young man, has 3 younger brothers and sisters, and his certificate says St. Tammany Parish Government Certificate of Recognition. St. Tammany Parish formally recognizes Gabriel Lebreton as serving as junior councilman at the December 6, 2012 Parish Council meeting signed by Ms. Brister and myself. And he has already put his pin on in the back, got him a little something to eat. His favorite food is tacos, and he wants to grow up to be an engineer. And
Good for him.
So it makes terrific grades.
All right, next item under presentations is certificates of recognition to Donna O'Daniels, Tanya Leader, and Kim Bergeron for their efforts to aid the victims of Hurricane Sandy. Ms. Brister?
I think there's one thing that we have learned over the years through Katrina, Gustav, Ike, Isaac, all of those storms we've been through is how welcome and needed and appreciated help from anywhere is to us. So I am delighted to be able to present these certificates to these 3 women who had a great idea, just went forward with it, and really, really helped people out for the storm Sandy. And I think we all remember how much we appreciated the help we got, and I couldn't be happier that it came from St. Tammany and 3 of our great residents here. So I will read. Certificate of Recognition. St. Tammany Parish Government hereby commends, honors, and thanks Donna O'Daniels, Kim Bergeron, and Tanya Leader in recognition of your outstanding effort to aid the victims of Hurricane Sandy by organizing the Train of Hope, which delivered relief supplies to the residents of New York and New Jersey this 6th day of December 2012 AD. We thank you very much.
I will use this opportunity really quickly. Thank you. It was such a delight to be able to be on the giving end for a change, and I'm sure all of you can appreciate that. And to be able to put hot meals in people's hands and see tears in their eyes, knowing that that might be the only hot meal they ate for the day, was just unbelievable, an unbelievable experience. We're going back next week, and we need help. If you guys have friends in other states, Donna has issued a challenge to get donations from all 50 states on the train so we can show that the world, the whole United States, is behind these people. Please check our website and see which states we still need, and if you've got friends in those states, call them and convince them to donate. They can donate online. All the information is on the website at www.trainofhope.net. We would love to show that we rallied the whole nation behind us in this effort to bring relief to others. So please check it out. And Donna, who called me at midnight, her husband doesn't allow me to talk late anymore at night to her because it turned, this was 1 week from the time she called me and we had the idea till the time that train delivered. $250,000 of relief supplies. So we were just blown away by the outpouring of love and support from the people here who know better than anybody else what those people are going through. And we're not done yet, so please help us get that train full.
Thank you.
I would just like to echo Kim's comments. We were really moved by how appreciated our efforts were, and I think the fact that we were coming from Southeast Louisiana, they know we went through Katrina, they knew we just went through Isaac a couple of months before, and it just made it that much more impactful. And many, many people said, you know, we're going to be in your position one day, and we're going to come and help others. So I think that was something that was really special that we took away from it. And I'd like to thank Councilwoman O'Brien for helping us promote the Train of Hope efforts. And like Kim said, we're taking donations through Tuesday. So if anyone would like to help, we would love to be able to facilitate that. Thanks.
Thank you. Would you mind getting a picture? Sure. You girls, come on in the middle. Thank you. Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you.
All righty. Okay, consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. I have the following items that I know we're going to pull. Under resolutions, it would be number 4C, 3587, number 16C, 3599, number 25C, 3608, and number 27C, 3610. Also, ordinance number 4927 under ordinances for introduction, that's item number 12. Are there any other items that need to be pulled? Okay. Motion to approve the consent calendar, second by Mr. Belisario. Vote with your lights on the consent calendar.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, first. Under resolution, well, we'll get number 12. Yeah, here we go. All right, ordinance calendar number 4927, ordinance to revoke a portion of Emerald Forest Boulevard right-of-way located in Ward 3, District 2. This needs to be tabled or postponed until next month. Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Bender. Vote with your lights on the postponement.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay, under resolutions, Resolution Council Series Number C, 3587, resolution to support Fire Protection District Number 1's application for assistance for Louisiana Office of Community Development for the purchase of prefabricated training props. Let's see, I have a note here that it did not need to be pulled, but I believe Mr. Belisario, it didn't need to be amended, I guess, is the message that I have.
That's correct. It's going to go forward the way it is and get through the grant approval process. I had seen an email on that earlier this week.
Okay?
Make a
Move
motion
to approve.
to approve.
Second by Mr. Belisario. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
All right, number 16, Resolution Council Series Number C, 3599, a resolution to concur or not concur with the City of Slidell annexation and rezoning of 3.222 acres located at 1570 Shortcut Highway from Parish NC1 to City of Slidell C2. This is in Ward 8, District 12.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to concur with the annexation.
Second by Mr. Ortiz. Mr. Bellisario, you have your light on.
No, sir.
Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
All right, item number 25, Resolution Council Series Number C, 3608, resolution to authorize the Parish Council to hire Jean Thibodeau and Associates to work on consolidating the parish's drainage regulations, both commercial and residential, into one ordinance, and recommend revisions with regards to technical updates, cost not to exceed $30,000. Let me read an email first, and then I want to talk with the council about what their options are in this instance. This email was sent to all the council members on November 26. I have placed a resolution to hire Jean Thibodeau and Associates to help consolidate and revise our drainage regulations into one ordinance and a manual. This is a project that the Davis administration was working on prior to Hurricane Katrina. The hurricane disaster caused the project to be set aside. For those of you who were on the council, weren't on the council back then, we strictly went into recovery mode after the storm, and everything, just everything got put aside at that point for the remainder of that term. Mr. Thibodeau was the parish engineer at the time. It was being conducted with the help of the University of Alabama hydrology professor, Dr. Cruz, and I apologize, I do not recall the man's first name. I do not know the exact amount of funds the parish expended on this project at that point in time, but I know it was a fair amount. The parish regulations are in at least two sections of the code. Subdivision regulations for drainage are in 499, while commercial regulations are recorded in Section 7. Revisions to both regulations have progressed over the years, but leave much to be desired with regards to the organization and technical guidance. In no way should this be construed as an effort to downgrade our regulations. The funding for this endeavor is designated in the 2013 budget under Council Professional Services. I'm asking for the authorization of up to $30,000 to accomplish this task. This project should not cost nearly that much, but we may need to utilize Dr. Cruz's expertise, which could push the cost up. Mr. Thibodeau will need to submit a proposal to the Finance Committee for the cost of his services prior to moving forward. The request for spending up to $30,000 is, in my opinion, a worst-case scenario. Muni Code cannot perform this task due to the technical engineering aspects of the ordinance. Let me follow up with a little bit on this. You have a couple of options. Number one, you can choose not to take this project on. Number two, you could restart the entire process, go out for requests for proposals. Two things need to occur there in your proposal, which is, one, whomever is going to take this task on needs to have regulatory background in this area. And number two, they can't work for a development community. It's a very specialized field. It's very unique. Now, the third option is, and would I recommend it to you, and quite frankly, I don't care what you do, how you want to proceed with this, but I'll give you my reasoning. The Davis administration hired the team of Cruz, and Thibodeau was part of that team as the parish engineer at the time. About 2 years after Katrina, Mr. Thibodeau moved on into the private sector and has worked as a regulator for the sub-districts, Gravity Drainage District 5, Abita Springs, and Ascension Parish. He's conducted hundreds of reviews of drainage plans throughout his career. In my opinion, I think this is where you're going to end up, even if you do go out with a request for proposal. It just doesn't seem to make sense to just discard the money that was spent by the Davis administration, considering that they went through this process and vetted the individual, that individual team that they had in place then. With that, I'm going to open it up to the floor on them, see what you want to do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to offer a substitute resolution that the council go out for RFPs for this work drawn up by the legal counsel and the council administrator. The proposals be evaluated by the council leadership and referred back to the council for adoption.
Okay, you have a motion. I need a second. Second by Mr. Smith. All right, have a motion and second. Discussion, Mr. Bender?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, first, I would like to see us, if possible, I appreciate the substitute motion by my colleague, Mr. Tanner. Have no problem voting on that. Just because of all of the reasons that you explained, it seems prudent to me to go with Mr. Thibodeau on this, and I simply wanted to voice my opinion on it. I appreciate the leadership you've taken on trying to move this forward, because you're correct. It got stuck at ground zero in the aftermath of the storm, and I would like to see it move forward, and knowing his credentials, I would not have a problem with that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Canulat?
Thank you, Mr. Gould. I was here along with Red and Steve since 2000, and I've worked with John many years. Outstanding. He's up to speed. He's very cordial. He's very easy to talk to. He was, like I said, he's been involved with this since day one. We're not going to find a better person. And his company, I believe his company is in very good standing with this parish also. So he also helps us on Drainage District 3. His work has been outstanding in the past. I don't see where it's going to change now. And we don't have to start over and fill someone in from the beginning.
Mr. Chairman,
So I think he's an outstanding.
Just a minute.
I think he's an outstanding
Hold on.
individual for this job.
All right, yes, sir.
I want to refer to a point of order. I have no opposition to Mr. Gene Thibodeau at all. And we're not discussing Mr. Gene Thibodeau and whether he should do the job or not. We're talking about something that was started 7 years ago, and all of a sudden it has to be done this council meeting without any proposals going out, which we all agreed here 2 or 3 months ago that we weren't going to do any professional contracts without going out for proposals. So I don't understand why we have to pass this tonight. I agree with you. As I said, I think the council leadership, which would be the people that were here at the time that all this was going on, would know who the best person was. And there's no doubt in my mind it probably will be Mr. Thibodeau. But it's not going to hurt us to go through the process. That will show the public that at least we went through the process. We didn't just award up to a $30,000 project to one person without giving anybody else a chance to look at it. That's my only thing. That's why I worded it like I did, so that the leadership of the council could review the thing and come back to us for adoption. I certainly have nobody in mind, and I would think that, it may be, but I just don't understand why we have to introduce this, at a council meeting and pass it that without any kind of proposal going out, or just discussion.
Well, I think that's why we're having a discussion now. Mr. Grovey?
I want to speak on the regulatory side, remind the council and the public that one of the things that are really hurting us as a body is that our backs are against the wall on the TMDLs, which stands for Total Monitoring Discharge Limits. Every time there's a heavy rain, the numbers of solids that are going into the lake, LADEQ, is on the verge of starting to fine us. This action and others that the administration and engineering has already done is showing DEQ that we're taking positive steps. That's why I feel that this issue needs to be addressed, whether it's addressed tonight or addressed next month or after an RFP. we have got to move in a right direction because we don't have a whole lot of wiggle room with DEQ on this issue.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I won't beat a dead horse here, but I just want to echo the same sentiments that we've heard already as it relates to process. And nothing that I don't think anyone has against the credentials of Mr. Thibodeau. Worked with him for 12 years when he was the parish engineer. It's just the process that I think that the parish wants to keep in front of us. And we just finished lauding how we handle the largesse of our constituency, our money. We just finished talking about that a few minutes ago. And so, we want to make sure that, we keep the process in front of us and let this thing go out for RFP proposal. And I think in doing that, it would show that, there's no great emergency. We don't have any storms pending. We're out of the hurricane season. So why do we have to rush to get this done at this point instead of just going through the process and putting out a request for proposal? Thank you.
I'll agree with you in one respect. Now, they did go through the process, and it's also, this is why I brought this before the council and presented it tonight in the way that I did, to allow for the discussion. I don't care. All I know is this has to be done, and it has to be done by a professional and is qualified. I have my opinion as to whether or not we need to go through the process a second time, but it's this council's decision. Mr. Stefanski.
I was on the council when we hired Dr. Cruz, who did work in several areas, and that's really the expert that you're looking at to understand the regulatory process that we have. He did work in several of the drainage districts. He did work in several of the basins, the Chinchuba Basin, the Bayou Liberty Basin, and some others, working those kind of things. So his is really a critical expertise that needs to be retained somehow in this process, and I'm not sure how we would do that. But also Jean Thibodeau, who was our engineer at the time, engineering director at the time, has a tremendous background in the drainage and the the engineering functions in this parish, and he was very well respected when he decided to leave on his own volition. He went to out into the private sector. The dilemma that I'm having is that we do have a process, and we negotiated a process with the administration as to how we would handle these things, which would allow input from the parish council when we go out for an RFP. And I think, given all the things that we have done, I originally had thought this was probably a good idea just to award this and go forth with it, but I also think that we have a process, and I think that what we need to do is honor that process that we worked with Pat and Bill and the people and their legal counsel and everything. We had several meetings on that, and this council adopted that process as the way that we would go. So with that in mind, I think probably we should consider going out for an RFP. But I also think that it's of immediate concern that we do it right away. Jake brought up a point which all of us, at least those of us that have major drainage areas, Bayou Lacombe, Bayou Liberty, Bayou whatever it is, wherever you are, we've got TMDL problems. Now, most of the public doesn't even understand what that means, but it means spots where affluent is accumulating too greatly in those tributary basins, and we've got to do something about it. Otherwise, we're going to have major problems with DEQ and EPA. And as we go forward, we need to have all this information done and in place. And I think in next year's budget, Bill, Euler, correct me, but I think we are in the process of starting to identify all those, and we moved monies 2 months ago into all those areas from different areas to get those TMDL projects ready to go out next year. So whatever we do, and I'm willing to support this either way, but whatever we do, it needs to be done in the very near future. If we decide to go out for an RFP, then within a couple of weeks, we need to have that RFP on the street, a 30-day response, and select somebody and get them in here and get them to moving. If, and that isn't too long of a wait period, but I don't think we should wait any longer than that. That would be my thought process.
Mr. Bellisario?
Couple of things on it. I remember the bantering back and forth on this issue several months ago, and I thought as a part of that discussion that there was an issue where there would be times we're looking for a particular expertise or knowledge base, that we knew that there were not a lot of individuals out for that, and we would go in that direction. And when we talk about Jean Thibodeau, my first occurrence with working him came in 2008, my first year on the council. There was a job that was started in my district on Brown Switch Road, as Steve knows and Red Thompson knows and Chris knows, was a problem area between the city and the parish. A contract was awarded by an engineer from this area who was not familiar with the gravity drainage district that was there. It was a state agency which had tighter requirements than what the cities were and the parishes were. By the time I was aware of what was going on, the horse was out of the barn down the road. Less drainage requirements. We fought for over 6 months to put in more stringent controls. Jean Thibodeau knew what the regulatory requirements were in that area, and lesser drainage is now in that area that should not have been. And to me, I believe we need to move forward with this. We're way behind the curve on this. So I'm more than willing to support the hiring of Jean Thibodeau.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
Mr. Bender?
One last comment. I think everyone's comments have been good. I think what Mr. Stefanczyk said, however we individually vote on this, I want to make sure that this, for me, is not a vote against RFPs. If I vote for Jean Thibodeau, it is simply because everything I've heard tonight from the council is, well, we're probably going to hire Jean Thibodeau. We're going to go out for an RFP, and he's probably going to be the person that gets hired. And I just heard Mr. Stefanczyk say that we've got to keep Dr. Cruz involved, and I heard Mr. Bellisario talk about the expertise here. And, Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have been through this process once already, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's not that we haven't followed a process. We followed a process. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just that the process went stagnant for a while we recovered from the hurricane. So that's my comments.
Let me say this, and I'm going to close the floor, and
No, I got one more.
Steve will have to talk. I view this as a jump-starting of the process that was already vetted and we had gone through years ago. I looked at it from a very practical standpoint, and I understand the principle about going out for a process and vetting individuals for these kind of contracts. But I look at it from a practical standpoint that we've already spent our money on this team, and it just seems to be spinning our wheels by spending more money to do a process, and then probably ended up making the determination that we're going to end up wanting to hire this group anyhow. Mr. Stefanczyk.
I just want to clarify the process that you talked about. The process that we went through several years ago hired Dr. Cruz. It didn't hire our engineering director.
Right, but he was
Hired
part of the
Dr.
team.
Cruz. And he is the one who, was the cost thing. Now you're looking at somebody that can take that expertise that he has and apply it to our engineering drainage regulations and be able to come up and put them into a regulatory fashion. So, and he's the one that's going to be the expert part of this. I think if you go out for an RFP, it's going to have to, that RFP is going to be required to utilize his expertise. It's not necessarily anybody else's, I believe. Don't get me wrong, but I believe any engineering firm could take that, to some extent could take that and apply his knowledge. But he's the critical issue in this as compared to the engineering firm that we hire. At least that's my view of what.
In my anticipation is he is going to be part of the process. My intent my belief is that we're hiring a team, and maybe it could have been worded differently to make that very clear, but my opinion is we're hiring that team. Thibodeau was part of the team at the time, but he was a parish employee, and I just felt like this was the proper way to go under the circumstances. All right, I'm going to close the floor, and we have a motion to go out on an RFP with the stipulations that we talked about, and we have a second by Mr. Smith. All right, vote with your lights, please.
Ms. O'Brien, Mr. Gould. Motion passes 10, 10 yeas, 4 nays, no one absent.
Okay. I'm going to instruct Mr. Han to please get started on this tomorrow. This needs to move quickly. I'll be in touch with you to speak about some of the technical requirements as far as the qualifications go. All right, thank you. Next item. Oh, we need a motion to remove this resolution?
No.
No, you passed the substitute motion.
Oh, that's correct. That's correct.
That's what you did.
Sorry. All right, next item is 27, Resolution Council Series Number C, 3610, resolution to appoint an administrator of and for the St. Tammany Parish Council beginning 2013. Mr. Dean.
I think I wasn't expecting that. After I believe we put out need for a council administrator, when was that, a couple of months ago, back in October? Because our friend, Mr. Savannah, is going to be leaving us and going to the legal department.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. I don't think you'll see him. The sooner the better. Anyway, we started out, I believe we had, correct me if I'm wrong, we had 50-something applications, then we got down to 30, then to 12, then to 6, then to 3, and so we wound up, and Mr. Gould, I'm not real sure, do you want to just go on and vote on this tonight?
The resolution's on here.
Okay.
You
All right.
put it.
Okay. I don't think I did, but anyway, I'll go with it. I'll go with it. Mr. Donald Henderson was chosen out of these applicants, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the hiring of Mr. Don Henderson as council administrator.
Second by Mr. Tanner. Any other discussion? All right, vote with your lights on the appointment.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay.
If I get a couple pages.
Disconnect his microphone
You forget I'm trying to take over from Mike, okay? I'd just like to thank Councilman Dean, the Personnel Committee, for referring me to the full council, and I'd like to thank the council for the vote of confidence. I look forward to working with all of you, albeit in a slightly different capacity. And again, thank you so much.
Are you absolutely sure you know what you're getting into?
And Mr. Gould, if I may, if you're ready to move on, I just wanted to mention real briefly that in the event that the council wanted to prepare a certificate of appreciation to the outgoing administrator, I did prepare one.
We got
Motion to deny.
There ain't nobody gonna vote for that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll bet you it's unsigned.
All right, under appeals. Gregory Benefati appealing the zoning commission denial on October 2nd, 2012 to rezone 11,000 square feet located west of Bookter Road, south of US Highway 190, east from A4 to HC2. This is in Ward 8, District 14. Mr. Benfatti? Mr. Smith, this is in your district? Believe? Yes, sir? I'm going to rule you, you know, I was going to rule you out of order.
That's all right.
All right, Mr. Benefati. Mr. Smith, this is in your district. What would you like to do with the appeal?
Mr. Benfati's not here?
No, sir.
Okay, I know we had tabled it last month because he said he couldn't be here, so, but in his
You want-
absence, we would like to move to concur with the zoning commission recommendation to deny.
Motion to concur, second by Mr. Artigue. Vote with your lights.
Mr. Artigue? There it goes.
They're just not lighting up real quick.
No, I still have only,
Falconer's Act.
Mr. Falconer, sorry, Mr. Artigue. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Wow, what happened to that guy?
Okay, motion on the resolution, Mr. Smith, and second by Mr. Stefanski. Vote on the resolution. Vote on the resolution, please.
Motion is unanimous, two absent.
Okay, the second appeal appears to, I have a note that it's going to be withdrawn. Susan Lagarde appealing the zoning commission approval on October 2nd, 2012, to rezone 8.901 acres located on the southeast corner of LA 1077 and LA Highway 1085 from HC2 to HC2A. This is in Ward 1, District 1. Is Ms. Lagarde here?
Mr. Gould, if
Mr.
I
Dean.
could, I have a letter from the group, Ms. Lagarde and the adjacent neighbors out there to withdraw this appeal. And so therefore, I'd like to concur with the zoning approval, make a motion to concur with the zoning approval. I'd like to say a couple of things, though, if I could, before.
All right, I have a motion and a second by Mr. Canulet. Mr. Dean?
Yeah, this is the intersection of Highway 1085, 1077. It's a very, very busy intersection. There is a planned, and I'm going to say this out loud, hopefully it's, you know, we got all our fingers and toes crossed, that there's going to be a roundabout there at that intersection. It's horrible. It is at a F minus, if there is such a thing, on the TIA. So this is the southeast quadrant of that intersection. After many meetings with the residents and with the developer, we finally come up with a list of deed restrictions that will be put into the record by the end of December. And I want to appreciate, you know, the folks who, there are about 5 or 6 neighbors there who live back there. It's a beautiful area. They have, and we've all experienced growth, but I think these folks have experienced it probably harsher than any of the rest of us. They've got Coquille sport complex right across the street. They have Archbishop Hannon High School built right next to that, right outside their front entrance. There's warehouses and industrial on the northwestern quadrant, and on the southwestern quadrant you have office spaces. So they've been really inundated with development. So we all kind of took every effort that we could to protect them and to provide buffers and all that, and I think that this does that. So I appreciate, I think, everybody involved. So with that, we're ready for vote, I guess.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second. Vote with your lights, please, on the removal, or the concurrence, sorry.
Motion is unanimous, two absent.
Okay, Mr. Dean, you need to introduce a resolution, an ordinance, second by Mr. Thompson. No other action is needed. Item number 3, John Warner appealing the zoning commission denial on November 7th, 2012, to rezone 1.66 acres located east of 8th Street, west of 9th Street, south of Highway 36 from A4A to HC2. This is Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Warner? Is there any opposition to this case? Okay. Mr. Warner, state your name and address for the record, please.
John Warner, 20246 Narrow Road, Covington.
Yes, sir.
I just asked that this council would, I bought this property, and it was zoned commercial, and through the blanket zoning planning or some planning, somehow it got changed to residential. I would like it reverted back to its present zoning before it got changed to the A4A.
Okay. I believe the property is adjacent to the trace, and the commission had some kind of a problem with that. Just so for the council's knowledge, that last year or 2 years ago, we put an ordinance in place that required more stringent buffers, no-cut buffers, as well as additional setbacks and height restrictions for properties that were going to be developed along the trace. Mr. Sharp, you want to talk about this?
I'd just like to say that I support the motion to override this. I support Mr. Warner's request. He bought the property in good faith, and a number of these instances have come up, and these people bought this property in good faith as commercial property, either to do something with it or as an investment. And then when it got changed to rural, the value of the property, got changed to residential, the value of the property was considerably different than their original purchase value. So I think it is a valid concern on his part, and I think it's a valid action on our part that we look at restoring it to its original zoning.
Okay, so you have a motion to override the denial.
I do. Move to override.
Second by Mr. Tanner. Okay, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, Mr. Sharp, need to introduce an ordinance, and second by Mr. Thompson. Sir, your property's been put back to the way it was.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. All right, ordinances for adoption, ordinance calendar number 4901, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Unified Development Code, Volume 1, to create a new section, 6.08, Regional Business Center Overlay. Need a motion? By Mr. Canulette, second by Mr. Safonczyk. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4902, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 2 acres from A1 to A1 and a mobile home overlay. This is in Ward 2, District 3. Second by Mr. Dean. Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4903, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map, reclassify 1 acre from A1 to HC2, Ward 8, District 13. Mr. Artigue, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4904, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify .79 acre from A1 to HC2, Ward 8, District 13. Mr. Teague, and second by Mr. Smith. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4905, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 6.7452 acres from A3 to PF1, Ward 1, District 3. Mr. Thompson? And second by Mr. Tanner. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4906, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 32.5 acres from MD1 to A4, Ward 1, District 1. Second by Mr. Thompson. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4907, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 32.5 acres to a PUD, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean. Second by Mr. Thompson again. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4908, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 3.05 acres from HC2 to A4, Ward 1, District 1. Second by Mr. Canulette. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4909, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 53.5 acres from A3 and PF2 to A3, PF2, and PUD, Ward 1, District 3. Mr. Thompson. Second by Mr. Tanner. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4910, ordinance to amend and reenact Section 3-105 of Article 5, Chapter 3 of the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, alcoholic beverages in general, and to repeal Sections 3-190 through 3-190.04 of Article 8. Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Smith. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4911, ordinance accepting finalized subdivisions into the road and drainage inventories, specifically Palm Courts and Covington Place Cottages, Phase 1 subdivisions, Wards 1 and 3, Districts 1 and 2. Mr. Dean? Second by Mr. Sharp. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4912, ordinance to extend for an additional 6 months the moratorium on the issuance of agricultural use permits within the boundaries of St. Tammany Parish Council District 5. Need someone to move on that? Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 4913, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 1.19 acres from A3 to HC2, Ward 6, District 6. Mr. Tanner? Second by Mr. Thompson. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 4 absent.
All right, ordinance calendar number 4914, ordinance establishing a no parking zone on a portion of Dub Park Road, and this is Ward 4, District 5. I have an amendment we need to put into, this needs to be amended and then reintroduced. The amendment states basically that the no parking zone will go in place as follows, which shall be effective and enforceable on the date of issuance of the notice to proceed with the construction of Holy Trinity Drive and terminate upon the date of the letter of acceptance of the completed work. The whole purpose of the no parking zone in this particular instance, first of all, it's illegal to park on Dub Park Road because of its width. Well, I want to explain what we're doing. This is actually in connection with the construction of Holy Trinity Drive. The agreement is that the construction crews will come in from Judge Tanner and not Dub Park. But I'm putting this in place in case somebody makes a mistake and tries to stage from the Dub Park side. We just can't have that. So I'm going to ask someone to make the amendment by Mr. Canulette, second by Ms. Marine. Second by Ms. Marine on the amendment. We need to vote on the amendment. Vote with your lights on the amendment, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
All right, also need a motion now to reintroduce Mr. Canulette, second by Ms. Maureen O'Brien. Yeah, come on up. Nobody came up to the podium, so. Oh, I'm sorry. State your name for the record and your address, please.
Bob McDaniel, 500 Dove Park.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your concern about the construction crews coming up Dove Park. We'd rather them come up Judge Tanner. But I'd like to know, because I live right there on Dove Park, what exactly you propose for the improvements of Dove Park. And if we have to do any improvements, I don't understand it because the traffic study that was done for the church and the retirement home indicated that there was no problem. And I believe that's why it was passed, and they got the zoning change, because there was no problem at all. And lastly, has this been presented to the public for approval, or is it already approved, the widening of the road?
Well, let's start with the widening of the road. It was proposed last year that we would be subsurfacing the drainage along Dove Park, and the purpose of that was to make it a more safe road. It was presented in the budget and approved last year. It was also presented in this year's budget because there's additional funding involved that's going into it this year, and it was approved for the 2013 period. And basically what they're going to be doing is subsurface the road, fill those ditches in. As you know, we just had pulled one out in front of Brookstone a couple of weeks ago. Lady, I guess she was on a cell phone, went off the road and ended up in a ditch. But that's the purpose of it. Now, the purpose of the signs is basically just to be able to, because what happens is if you call the sheriff's department to tell them to come out and move the vehicle, a lot of times they won't enforce it because it's not posted. Even though it's not against, it is against the law to park on a street like that and block the road. You just can't do it. I mean, it creates such a problem. So that's the impetus of the ordinance that we have in place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. Yes, ma'am. State your name and address for the record.
Josie Baudouin with 511 Chinkopin Circle in Brookstone. If we're going to go to the extent of the no parking signs, there's really nothing that I think I can remember on Dove Park that says not a truck route. It's no truck route. So how are all the construction people coming into the area going to know that they can't travel Dove Park Road?
Well, part of the agreement is that the contractor that builds the road is going to be responsible for managing his crews. What I'm proposing is simply something as a just-in-case measure. That way, if it does occur, somebody comes in and wants to stage from that side, I'm on sound ground where I know the sheriff's department's going to come in and say, move the trucks, you got to get out of here, you're blocking the road, and you're in violation.
But in terms of the actual transport of the trucks, if it's not designated, how are they going to know that we don't even belong on Dove Park Road? No parking is different than it's not a truck route.
The contractor is going to be responsible for that.
Is there any reason why we can't have something that says this is, no construction at this point? I mean, technically, no parking makes somewhat of a sense, but you can't park in the ditch, so that's pretty much
I'll give it some
obvious.
consideration. We'll talk about it. Okay?
Anything else?
All right. Yeah.
No
That's
problem.
another discussion, though, but,
Okay.
and I'll be happy to sit down with you and talk about it. Mr. McDaniel, I need to get with you anyhow on another issue.
Because anybody who tried to park would be a little crazy anyway, because
Well,
there's a ditch, I can't
let me
figure
tell
it
you,
out.
I have never seen anybody park on Dove Park Road,
Right.
except sometimes these construction crews will come in and they'll try to park while they're working on the lines or different things, and some of that is of necessity. But, it's a what-if world.
The only other thought, or the only other concern, is that once that road is widened at that side of Dove Park, is that going to open it up to more of a staging area for construction workers and construction materials and such?
No. No.
Is there any way
The
to-
idea is not to allow it to be a staging area.
And is there any way that, do you need an ordinance to say that, no, it's not allowed? Or is that something that is?
No parking signs will take care of that.
That would be
That's the
sufficient?
purpose of it, yeah. Yeah, if they can't park on the road, it's as simple as that.
Okay.
So staging could be a possibility.
So staging, could you, 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 comes under that point. I
Correct.
just don't want to take any chances. If we have an
No, 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 and-
opportunity to make it very clear, maybe that's sort of what our
I
point
think it's
is.
clear, and I believe we're putting ourselves in a position to where if somebody makes a mistake, we'll be able to clear it up as quick as we can.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Thank you,
Appreciate
ma'am. All right, I have a motion and a second to reintroduce? Okay, and that's all we need to do. All right. Ordinance calendar number 1549, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Section 2-009, parish fees and service charges, development 4, charges B, development, Section 4, mandatory impact fees. I have a motion, I have a note to, this needs to be amended and reintroduced. Need a motion to,
So moved.
Mr. Stefanczyk?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Tanner. Mr. Stefanczyk, you have a light on.
Well, because I wanted to correct the ordinance number that you read,
What did I say?
1549.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting dyslexic.
I know, that's why, I just wanted to make sure we got the right one on tape.
Hey, look, if I can't mess up one time a
That's
meeting.
okay, I'm not, you didn't mess up, we corrected it, right?
All right, so we have a motion to amend and a second. Let's vote on the amendment.
Hey, guys, this just don't work on Mike. It works on anybody.
You already voted. Did you mean to say yay? Okay, well, you did. Motion, sorry. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, I need a
Motion to
motion
reintroduce.
by Mr. Smith, second. Okay, and that's all we need to do with that. Under nominations, appoint one individual to the Board of Commissioners of St. Tammany District Number 16, Districts 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Mr. Smith?
Move the table.
Motion to postpone, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Vote on the postponement.
Mr. Faulkner, is it still? All right, motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, number 2 is appoint 4 individuals to the Board of Commissioners of St. Tammany Recreation District Number 10, Districts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do we have nominations? All right. Chris Brown, okay. What other names do we have?
Mr. Clarence Romage Jr.
All right, do we have any others? Okay, well, let's, you want a motion to appoint those individuals? Okay, we don't have to suspend the rules, it's not parish-wide. We have a motion and a second by Mr. Sharp. Vote with your lights on the appointments. How many does that leave us? 2 more to do? Okay.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, next item, under appointments, resolution to reappoint John O'Neill, John Evans, Tom Buell, and to appoint Marty Gould and Trilby Lenfant to replace Marlon Peachy and Earl Gorandola to Parish Communications District 1. Mr. Bellisario, I believe you're going to remove this?
Yes, I make a motion to remove the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion to remove and a second. Vote with your lights for the removal.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay, in the event, or in light of the fact that we're going to hold off on the appointments, I'm going to request that Council Attorney Terry Hand contact the Sheriff's Office, fire districts, municipal police departments, and parish government for the purpose of designating one representative each to consult with regarding the review of the selection process and criteria for future members of the 911 Emergency Board. Mr. Hand will report back to the Parish Council by March 31st, 2013, with a report which will include a mission statement with the stated goals to guide the board in the future, along with any recommendations as to the composition and number of members of the board. This request is being made to assure that the said board continues to function at peak efficiency and with the end result of being the safety of all citizens of St. Tammany Parish. In addition, next year's chairman will designate a council member to take part of this process as well. So that's the course of action that we'll be taking in the future. All right, next one is a resolution to reappoint Larry Race to the Greater New Orleans Expressway Commission. Mr. Falconer?
So moved.
Second by Mr. Tanner. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Motion to refer to the Zoning Commission a recommendation for the proposed rezoning of 1.01 acres from NC4 to HC2. This is in Ward 5, District 5. I need somebody to move on that. Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Falconer. Vote on the motion, please.
Motion is unanimous. Mr. Falconer? 3 absent.
All right, motion to refer to the zoning Commission for recommendation to propose rezoning of Lot 4 in Hillcrest Country Club subdivision from A3 to A3 with the mobile home overlay, Ward 6, District 6. Mr. Tanner. Second by Mr. Falconer. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
All right, motion to refer zoning commission for recommendation to propose rezoning of Square 60 in Section 11, Township 7, South Range 11 East from A4A to AT1. This is this is in Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Sharp, I believe you want to remove this?
Yes, it does need to be removed. Move to remove
Okay,
it.
second by Mr. Dean. Vote on the removal.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Next item is motion to reconsider Resolution Council Series Number C 3539, adopted November 1, 2012. Resolution to vacate in part the moratorium established by Ordinance Council Series Number 8-1741 to remove Lot 414-D1 from the resolution to vacate Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean. We have a second by Mr. Tanner. All right. Vote with your lights on the resolution.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Well,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
no. Wait a minute now.
No?
We didn't have any off-the-floor items until about 30 minutes prior to the meeting. Well,
So much for a Christmas gift.
we have a verbal motion from T.J. Smith, I believe.
Junior. Yes, sir. We'd like to, for motion to refer to the zoning commission for recommendation to amend the St. Tammany Parish Unified Development Code to define various terms for laundries in Section 502 in I-1 Light Industrial District relative to adding industrial laundry as a permitted use.
Okay,
We have-
that's the purpose. We need to vote to open up off-the-floor items. It has to be unanimous. Boy, TJ, I wouldn't want to be on the end of this side of it. Vote with your lights, please.
Well, if I may, Mr. Gould.
Wait,
'cause-
I'm sorry. Procedurally, do we have a second? Oh, come on now. Somebody's going to give the man a second. All right, second by Mr. Tanner. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
It truly is Christmas. Okay, motion to refer your request. Second by Mr. Tanner. I know nobody else wants to give you a second on this one. Vote with your lights on the motion.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, motion to adjourn. I will note that we got out of here in an hour and a half, guys.